The Therapist and the Coach podcast is a space for real relational conversations about what it means to be human.
In a world obsessed with fixing, achieving, and self-help, we invite you to pause, lean in, and discover the wisdom already inside.
Together, we explore how healing, growth, and transformation can happen not in isolation, but in connection.
Through open-hearted dialogue, we challenge the myth of self-regulation and self-improvement, offering instead co-regulation, psychological safety, and the power of being seen.
Hello, Oren.
Hello, Lerae.
It's
How are
Thursday.
you?
Oh,
How are you?
hey, I'm fantastic. How are you today?
I'm very good. I'm very glad to see you.
Good. Well, I have a bunch of topics, and I thought that I would toss some out and see what resonates or lands with you as what we talk about today.
Let's do that and just tell everybody I have no clue what you're telling me, so it's not rehearsed or anything like
Yeah, no,
that.
this as I was making my blueberry muffins last night, I had these
Yes,
ideas, so I just wrote them
yes.
down and I thought I'd bring them.
I'm can't wait.
Okay. All right, so I'll say them all. There's one, two, three, four. There's five of them, and then you tell me what resonates with you. Okay.
Okay.
So one topic is apologies. Are apologies for others, or are they for justifying bad behavior?
It's a
One
lovely
thought
one.
that came up
That's a,
for me.
that's a lovely one. I'm signed up for that one, that's for sure.
The idea of mattering. I was thinking about some of the themes that come up in our conversations, our podcast conversations, and we talk about the wounds and the need for self-regulation and to be regulated as a young child. In some of our earlier podcasts, from the psychological perspective, you were sharing a bunch of that. So and one of the things that, as I've done my work, one of the core things that came up for me is I grew up feeling like I didn't matter. And and then I realized that there was layers of beliefs like I'm not enough, I'm not lovable. I like there was different versions, but it all came down to I don't matter. And then so there's a lot in that one around mattering.
Oh,
And
very
is
much
that
so.
at the root of all of this? If I think about my coaching clients, often when they get stuck somewhere, it's because they don't feel good enough, or they don't feel worth, or imposter syndrome, or like all this stuff that is all inherent in what we're speaking about. So that's another thought, this idea of mattering. um Fear being absence of trust. Another
Mm-hmm.
one. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think I need to say
Beautiful.
anything more on that one.
Oh my God, we have at least for the whole year. Very good ones.
um the push for purpose. That's very much something that is in the coaching world, because I'm asking my client, what is your purpose? What is your as opposed to meaning making, or someone living from their soul design. They're trying to find a purpose, or and a good enough one, and then it becomes about performance. So the push for having a purpose, is that feeding this performance,
Yes,
um
yes, an
where
incredibly powerful.
where people are striving to be acknowledged and matter and all this stuff.
Right, 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 right. It's a
As
great topic.
they're all connected here. And then there's the human rock in a hard place, I call it, which is we can't extract ourselves from our social reality.
No, right.
So we have to
Wow.
cope with it. We're gonna
Yes,
deal with it.
yes,
And
yes,
we deal with
yes,
it in different
yes.
ways, by avoiding, by leaving emotionally, physically. Like I can go and live on top of a mountain, but I'm still in relationship. I've just chosen to be extracted to that extent, but I'm still in relationship with all things.
Absolutely,
So there's
absolutely.
that.
Wonderful topic. Yeah.
I think that's it. Um,
Wow. Okay. Each and one of them are like, I just want to, once you say the first one, I just want to dive right in. And then the second one's like, yes, it's, okay. So we just have to have this wheel that we just like kind of like bzzz and see where it lands.
Okay. So what's jumping out at you today? I mean, we can start there. So I'll just go. So there's the apologies, the mattering, fear being the absence of trust, the push for purpose, and then the what I refer to as the human rock in a hard place of
What feels to you that is most resonating with you?
I love them all, which is
Yeah, and me
why
too.
I'm
Me
leaving the
too.
decision up to you. So what's like really
Maybe
just
maybe we'll
jumps to the
start with
front?
the maybe we'll just talk about all of them within time, but maybe we can start with the first one and then just go from there, and
Okay.
but because all of them are really topics that are amazing, and I think that we will end up talking about all of them. So maybe we can start with the first one in the list because they're not one of them is better than others. How does that sound?
Okay. That
Yeah.
sounds great. Okay. That's
So,
great.
so maybe present at the beginning the what came to you when you think about that, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, because I've been thinking about and I have been listening to some of our podcasts as as inspiration for some topics. And a word that you use a lot is repair. And I also had a client session, and we were talking about boundaries and respect and feeling respected and disrespected and and exploring choices around how to be in relationship with disrespectful behavior. And just in the sharing of the story, this particular client, basically said that she was on the receiving end of really bad behavior. In the electronic world, it's we're disconnected from our being together, and I think that bad behavior or the projecting our angst or whatever onto each other through email or text, or if I'm feeling pressure, I'll push that onto people without really feeling their humanness because of the disconnection of technology. So this happens to her quite a bit in her role, and we were exploring the choices she had around that. And she said, well, so she felt the impact. She was talking about how to regulate herself. And then, in her own language, of course, not using this language necessarily. But then um, she said, well, and later on, after she'd gone through this whole process of taking care of herself after being whacked by this email and feeling really disrespected, she got an apology. But the apology was all about, I'm sorry that I did this, but I when stressed, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other thing, which is really just, it's not for the person. It's actually just to make themselves feel better. Like, I'm apologizing so I feel better by justifying my behavior. And I like to be transparent on these things. I also want to say that this is such an interesting topic for me because I came into my marriage never having apologized for anything. Like, why would I apologize? Like, literally, that's
Right. For what? Yeah.
it's not something that was done in my family. It's not. I just didn't. It wasn't on my radar.
Right.
So repair, or like from a relational standpoint, which is at the bottom line of everything we talk about. So those are the things that were on my mind about apology, which and then what does an apology sound like when it's for someone else?
This is such an incredible topic, and what two things come to mind. The first thing is, there is a guy named Kohlberg. Kohlberg was the guy that basically talked about stages of morality, and there are six stages. And he talks why, for example, kids would what's their capability of morality. It's like why would if they do something bad, why would they apologize or say the truth? It's only because they want to avoid punishment.
Mm.
They don't have the capability. Now, all of us are going through the stages. Not all of us are getting to the 6 stages. Some people are getting older in life, and at the same time, they never really develop the higher self of morality, which, for example, would be, let's say we walk on the street and we see nobody's there and we see some trash. And or you go on the beach, nobody's there, and there's some trash. And you don't do that for anyone other than inside. You want the world to be
Mm.
better and clean. And so there is nothing to gain in terms of what people see, but it comes intrinsically from yourself. Or you're doing something good for somebody else, not to put your name, in the metropolitan as I did this, or I this name contributed for that. You do that because you want to help humanity. So it's very different stages of why we're doing things.
Mm.
And that has to do very much with how our early the time with our families we could get our needs met at that point of time. Like a kid would come to a mom, why? When they need something, and it's like, mom, it's like, I want something, or I want to show you something. It has to do with them, which needs
Yeah.
to be that way, because
Mhm.
that's the narcissistic needs that if they don't get, then they develop a narcissistic wound later on. And then when we see the narcissistic people that like just doing everything for the sake of themselves, and we actually have a lot of criticism about that. We don't like narcissistic people. Where if we could really understand what's underneath that, it's like a child that never really got what they needed. So they now there's a big hole inside them that the more they pour inside, it goes outside right away because there's no container for that. It's not feeding them. So they constantly need to be fed by things, including doing things for others. But if we get what we need in the narcissistic needs as kids, it's about us, then we can really gradually develop to be mature human beings that eventually we get to the morality of and the capability also of seeing somebody else. And then I'm going with that to a place where the why we apologize so many times can come from a very different place. So if a child apologized, they might feel bad that they shamed mom, that mommy is angry, or they're getting into trouble. Where a mature adult, would know that they're safe and they're okay inside because they internalize safety. And they can see that it's not the behavior that they did, is not what they meant. And then it comes to you, the apology comes to you from a very different place. It is for you, and they can separate between their behavior of being human to also the fact that they just, yeah, I did that, but I really didn't mean that. I was scared. And then the apology has much because there's really two people rather than one person that does things. Oh yeah, yeah, no, I apologize because I can't tolerate the fact that even you're going to abandon me if I don't. So is it for you or is it for them? And that has to do also to really so much with the early times of attachment and what we really did. We get things for us, or we know that we need to get things, including apologizing and doing the right thing, so to speak. So we're not getting into trouble, or we're going to survive that. But it's really inherently coming from fear or from so many other places, which we all do in that way or another. It's not that we constantly that. Sometimes we really get scared to lose somebody, even if we have attachment intact and all that. But usually, when we are really okay with who we are, we know, and we can recognize that we hurt somebody. So I'll give an example. For example, the beginning, if I would be beginning before I went to therapy myself, I would so many times apologize for my own fear of abandonment. So I
So
would.
even
Mhm.
go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
no. It would be sincerely, I would feel bad about that. It's not that I was a psychopath. I would feel bad about that I hurt somebody, but it was a lot to calm myself or down to get like, are we okay? Just we okay, rather than I know we're gonna be okay no matter what, or I'm gonna be okay, and I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings. So it takes the behavior of what I did out. We're hurting each other constantly with things. Unfortunately, we're human. We're rubbing each other in different ways.
I call them relationship accidents.
Exactly. Exactly. So if I did something that hurt you, I don't want to hurt you. And I might be something that for me it's nothing, but for you it's a lot. But I can see you that it hurts you. Now, it might be, I might not be ashamed of what I did, but immediately I would say, Lerae, I'm really sorry I hurt your feelings because I don't want to hurt your feelings. So, and it might be something, this example from something that happened to me with Bonnie, my therapist, and it's actually in my book, in my upcoming book. It will be, she would at some point say constantly, uh-huh, 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 uh-huh. So it just drove me crazy. Now, it was, if he did it at the beginning, I probably wouldn't notice it because I so much didn't fear abandonment. When I got into relationship with her more and more, things start also projecting, because my mom used to do that to me all the time while not listening. So I projected on her things that happened to me a long time ago. That's transference, as we call in psychology. I transferred also, like, for me, it was kind of like she's mocking me. She's saying, it drove me crazy. It also
But she's
this.
also not listening. Like if that's a not listening
And
behavior.
that's what my interpretation, while she was very different than my mom, but it reminded me my mom. And all
It
of a sudden,
activated.
I start feeling she's mocking me. And thank God at some point I could tell her that, because the beginning I was just like, I was so scared of losing her that I wouldn't say anything. And that has to do with trust. So the moment we have the trust, which took time for me to tell her, I don't like what you're doing. It's a risk for me. It was a risk for me at that point. But then she said something so beautiful that as you said, like, how do you know when you never had that? I was so scared because when I would tell it to my mom would be defensive. She would be, I
Mm.
didn't do that. I would, it immediately throw me out. She would not listening. She would split off inside and protect herself. And I
Or
would be
you're
out
being too sensitive, or
to be
you're
sensitive,
it
or
becomes about you.
exactly. All of a sudden, something happened with Bonnie. She said, I'm really sorry. And she meant that. I understand where you're coming from. She didn't, so she wasn't there really for me. Whether she did, now she did that actually from empathy. She did listen. She was different than my mom, but I projected something from my own experience, implicit memories with my mom, the experiences that I had with my mom. That it's just the moment I'm trying to get her to hear me, to really actually hear me, she couldn't. And then she became defensive. And then it's like getting even more enraged. The behavior started even that. And then apologies on that from completely the wrong reason, never being heard. Bonnie said something very interesting. She said, like, first of all, I'm really, really sorry. She got me. I could see that. She said, like, I understand. She reflected to me what I actually was feeling. So I felt, first of all, heard. At that point, my anger to her down for a set to that. And then what she says also, I'm saying that it's my kind of, that's how I listen. I say sometimes involuntarily sometimes. This is how I do things. I really gonna try not to do that. I understand how it rubs you wrong. I can't promise I'm not gonna do it, because then she couldn't be her. And at that point, every time she said, aha, gone. I didn't see my
Well,
mom, I see her.
it's transformational,
It's
almost
transformation.
magical.
Yes.
Almost magical.
All those magical.
So
And yeah. And the only thing she needs to do is just to understand me, to hear me, to actually hear me. So the apology came to not even the behavior, is that, like, I'm sorry that, and she can't change who she is. She can try not to hurt me that way. She knows that she's being aware, but she needs to be human too. So she wasn't really afraid of that, or something. Oh my God, from now on, I cannot do that. She will be mindful of that. But actually, she allowed herself to still be there. And that is incredible.
you know, it is incredible. And there's a concept in coaching called the empowerment triangle that we use, which is the flip of the drama triangle. So the drama triangle being victim, persecutor, rescuer. And if you're engaging, you're one of those, or you're changing roles, but that's what you're in. And uh, and then to shift out of that is to coach, to anyway, I don't need to get into that because it's a little bit complex, but it just reminded me that if one's able to self-regulate and not move into that drama triangle of rescuing, of you know taking the persecutor role of, like, I didn't do anything, like there's a different response from each one of those places. But if it's like just a truly grounded, open-hearted, oh, like, I'm just learning something about you, if we're just students of each other's reality, like just
Mhm.
that. in
Yes.
itself. It's
Yes.
really
Yes.
profound because how am I supposed to know what rubs you the wrong way? Like,
Right.
whoever said that when you meet someone, you're supposed to know exactly what they need or want or be able to read their mind or whatever? So how am I to know that if I'm going, it's activating you? Unless you tell me. And if you're not safe to tell me, then there's already that rub. And yet it dissolves instantly when
Because you
it's
really
from
address the right thing. It's not even the behavior that we address, because the
that's it.
address, yeah, it's really underneath that. That what got the person
Oh,
to, where did I push the button there?
so if there's a step by step, if there's a step by step, okay, so let's make that. I'm making this up. You might have a rubric for this, but this is new for me. There's actually I don't like this word, but right, or let's say more helpful way, useful way to apologize, step by step. So, first step, what would you say the first step is?
I think that the first step is actually the biggest step. The most important step is to actually listening. We talked about in previous podcasts about listening. And that's if the moment, let's say, take the example with me and my mom. The moment I said, "Mom, you don't listen," she said, "What? What? I don't listen to you. You always like." Immediately she becomes defensive. We didn't. We can't proceed from that. If there's actually listening in it, first of all, kind of anchoring yourself to say, like, if you right now somebody is angry with you or upset with you, you might want to see that it probably belonged to them, and if you did something that not okay, and it's okay to be wrong, so to speak. It's okay, we're human. So kind of anchor yourself first, breathe, see if you can actually be in a place with yourself, to anchor yourself, to say, like, okay, I'm right now scared or whatever, however I feel. Can I be right now in this for 2 seconds, just to, can I really actually listen to what hurt the other person? If you feel that you need to be so defensive, and that's something that we can inject to our left brain to say, like, how am I right now? Do I feel like
Well,
I
we
need to?
talked about the pause like last
Yes,
time
the
we did.
pause.
We talked about this. Like if
So,
I,
so brilliant, so brilliant. The pause would be the first thing.
okay,
The pause would be the first thing, because first of all, to pause to see, do I need to, do I feel that I need to push right now back, or I can listen actually? Because if I need to push back, we're not going to resolve or apologize or doing anything,
to your point,
anything.
you can't go anywhere from there
No,
except somewhere that's not good
that's exactly right.
or not helpful. I want to stay away from good and bad, right and wrong. So not useful or helpful.
Not useful for the repair. A repair
Okay.
needs to happen. A repair, or any kind of repair, including obviously apology, is that you're not apologizing for who you are. You're apologizing for something that might have hurt somebody. So if you need to apologize for something that you don't feel that you need to, that, like, for example, I can do some, people can, like, in sessions, there is transference. So all of a sudden somebody can tell me something that I did that hurt them, that I had no clue, nor did I wish that really that. It's just like I had no clue. Now, I did, in terms of, if you saw that objectively, you will think, oh, Oren, you didn't do anything wrong. But as you said, like, it's not about right or wrong. It's about the person that you're right now conversing got hurt for something that you did. So for me, it's first of all the separation between the person and the behavior, meaning that,
And not taking on like it actually is a healthy distinction between self and others where I end and someone else begins. So if I'm not so this pause is step one. It's like take a breath, take a beat,
yeah,
check in, because if I'm not in a position to own my experience and allow someone else to have their experience, like if I'm in a position where I'm, you know, receiving what feedback, because all it is feedback. Feedback isn't emotional. It's someone else's reality or experience of a thing or in a moment or whatever.
yes, yes.
So, and it's not, feedback isn't personal. I mean, it can feel personal if I'm in that space. So that pause is step one.
And that's why the pause is so important, because now the pause is important. Like, if right now, let's say we're right now very regulated, and I can hold myself, I'm okay. And then you said something that hurt me, but I'm okay. I will be able to reflect that to you without even emotions much. Because, oh, that actually hurt my feelings. It's like, oh, how did you tell me that something like that? My emotional reaction might provoke your reaction because you don't even know where it came from. It hurt your feelings
Or
because,
if anger or
or if
sadness
anger or whatever
activate
it is.
me, if I
Right,
take too much,
right,
I mean, then it
right.
gets messy instantly. It's not clean. It's so that's actually a good rubric. Like, am I feeling clean in this moment? Like, so I can take a breath, remind myself this isn't about me. What's useful and helpful in this moment is for me to be receptive. And I'm also going to say curious. So you said that, listening, really listening is the first, but I think if we're what we're doing here is creating a, how to make an apology, how to make a useful, helpful repair type and or, a useful apology, is that I'm here, the quality of my hearing, my listening. I'm listening to understand. So if I am a student of someone else's reality, I'm in that mindset of I'm listening with curiosity about you, about what just happened for you. I'm not owning it. So there's this really clear distinction.
Yes.
And so my listening, there's a purpose in it, and it's to understand. I'm seeking to understand so that I actually.
Yes. Yes. 100%. 100%. Now, that can happen. That's the thing that now all is very true. That can happen though if I can actually be okay. If I, in order to be curious with somebody else, I need to feel okay. Because if somebody hurt your feelings, let's say I hurt your feelings about it doesn't matter whether it belongs to you or not, you'll have really hard time to think about, I'm curious about Oren right now because you'll try to survive yourself, the hurt.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the first thing the conditions is that, yeah, we need to understand in order to go to the left brain and to be curious and understanding others, we need to be in a place where we are actually, as you said, regulated, that we're actually okay at that point of time.
Oh, so then it's really important to say then in this, how to make a good apology or how to make a useful, helpful apology. It's important to take time. It's not time bound in the sense that, um, and I'm thinking about my children. I'm thinking about my husband because those are the places on a regular basis I'm most activated. Because
Right,
well,
right. It's
we could
most
probably have
closely,
another podcast as to
absolutely. Those are
why.
the closest relationships
Yeah,
also. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and the stakes are high because they're so important to
for
me.
sure.
So I might need a day.
Yes,
It's not. I more need more than a breath. I
yes,
need more
yes,
than to get, just pause a meeting and step out for a
yes,
moment and go, splash some water on my face or something and come back. I might need more time than that.
yes,
And the
yes.
investment in that pause and taking the time it takes and communicating that, it's like, okay, I'm going to circle back to this. I'm not in a good place to to process or acknowledge this in the moment. I'll come, back to you in a day or.
This is really honestly the heart of of everything else that comes later on.
Hmm.
Because imagine, I mean, then again, it's so easy. Most of the time, the problems are not even the behaviors of what they did. That
Mm,
is that really underneath is the hurt. And when we're
mm,
hurt, we cannot repair anything like that. No, we can be hurt, but regulated to come from a place when you can actually talk. It's like one of those things that we talked about in previous podcasts that we said, like, when you guys, two people are angry, don't talk. You don't really talk. You just basically are not going to do any reflection, any left brain thing, any repair. It cannot happen because you like right now try to swim in an ocean where two angry rivers are converting each other to each other. How
mm.
can you actually make the water calm?
Well, there's just rapids. Like when that
Yeah, yeah,
happens, that's a
exactly.
really good visual, actually.
Right.
It's like
Yeah, yeah.
it gets all
It's like
frothy and foamy and
yeah, it's like cannot when you try to
chaos.
calm down when those come, just let the water calm down.
Mm,
Take your time, be mindful to, and it's very, it's very respectful to do that. That happened to me a couple of times where some people, would surprise me that I didn't know where it came from, and it hit me in a way that I wasn't clear about being okay.
mm,
It hit me something somewhere there. And I would say to them, you know, can you give me some time? I really hear you right now, and I need some time to reflect on that before I comment. I could say right away, I'm really sorry that I hurt you, but at the same time, I could be hurt myself.
Mm. Well,
So
and I think that's a really important point, Oren, because if I'm a rescuer, if I'm coming from that perspective or that pattern or habit, then I might be apologizing for something that isn't mine. And
very
then I've
true.
got another thing going on. So this is really great. This
Amen.
is really great.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it might, I also want to address because you're talking about hurt and sadness. And I've said to you, and I don't know if I've said it in the podcast, but and I'm open to challenging this belief along the way. But I have this experience that sadness and anger are different sides of the same coin.
They are.
So it might not be sadness. I might be like some of my clients, their favorite emotion or their go-to is frustration. Frustration is their activating, versus sadness. Anger is their activator, or
Right.
um,
Right.
or
Right.
confusion. So the activating emotion might not be sadness. Like sadness might be underneath it, but
Yes.
there's it doesn't matter how much self-awareness you have, you can tell when you're activated, when your heart rate's, or when you're
Absolutely.
we
Absolutely.
all, I think, have a tendency to experience that stuff with a favorite or a preferred emotional response. um so mine for the first part of my life was sadness, and then or hurt. I would be hurt, and then at some point the switch flipped, sorry, and it
Yeah. Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like a tat. So
Yeah.
in my early mid 30s, I guess. But anyway, so okay, this is exciting. So um and how to apologize and mean it is, and have it be for the relationship in a way that honors both. First
Yes.
is as a pause and communicating that something's happened and I need a pause. If it's more than a breath, or if I'm not in a place to receive what's happening,
Mm.
then I communicate that pause, that communication, and you modeled that really
Yes,
well.
yes, yes. And that is true to anything that is kind of really like a general accommodation that if you, because so many times we're just reactive and it's understandable. So we get hurt, we want to react, or we can't listen, we just want to do something. Just kind of get into your left brain for a second. We talked about the last time about the stop sign or whatever it is, the method
Well, the
that you use.
choice we talked about,
The choice,
moving from
exactly.
reaction to response.
And God said, like, because the moment you respond reactively, it's not in to
You're in
apologize.
the
You're in
water.
the
You're
wire and it's
rapid.
not repair and it's not that, and the other person feels the vibration. The moment the waters are calm for both, you can talk about it from a very different place. Your right brain is regulated. You're calm. It's like when you are with your anyone, including our kids. There's a lot of parents listening to that. So you love your kids, but if you're tired, you're exhausted, you're hurt, and they come all of a sudden and start hitting you because they're kids and they want to play, that might anger you and trigger you, even though you love them. You just want them to go away right now. you know, it's not that you're bad, it's just you can't have yourself in order to enjoy and being there for them the way they need. And as long as you are not, that's why I'm saying to parents so many times, or anyone, just if you're not okay, pause. Take your time and ask for that. People would actually be very respectful of that. I remember when I said to Bonnie things and that starts with her, then I'm doing it right now with others. But when I said to her something that she couldn't really be available at that point of time, sometimes there wasn't need any pause. She could see me right away, just like you're clear, something happened with your daughter, your son, or a client, it doesn't matter. You can see them, you don't have to pause. You are clear, you know what's happening, you're regulated. That's okay. You don't have to pause. But if you, the only thing that we can take care of is ourselves, right? So we need to be mindful of how we are at that point of time. And if we say, and so in Bonnie, when at times when I kind of got her not really ready and I could see that it hit her, said that she paused immediately and she reflects like, let me think about that. And something that I kind of like said that she did wrong to me or that, and she wasn't aware of that. She
That's
was
another
very
way to
humble
address
and
it.
saying, and now here's why I'm saying that also, that it's so important. Because what came to me immediately is incredible respect.
Mm.
Why? Because she didn't push back on me. She didn't immediately apologize for something that I didn't, It felt to me that she takes me seriously.
You
She
know,
took me seriously to say, like, let me think about that. That immediately got me to feel that I'm hurt. It's not even we talked about really of what hurt me. It's like we did, but she didn't even respond to that. She said, like, she kind of said, like, I'm not available right now to answer that because she felt herself probably she's not,
yeah,
she needs to be
that's
with that.
good language too. I'm not available.
Lerae, it was so powerful because at that point I felt she respects me. Different than my mom, not that she didn't want to respect me, she couldn't, immediately pushed me away. It's like, I didn't do that. You're so sensitive. You always do, immediately pushed me, shamed me, not hearing
It's
me,
your
blah, blah,
fault.
blah.
It's your fault. It's which also, you know, I'm not enough. I don't matter. Ah, la 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 la. Okay,
I don't exist. Exactly. I don't
so
exist.
so here's the thing. This is what's emerging out of you just like this is just such thank you for sharing this, you know, your relationship with Bonnie in this way, because it is illustrating the incredible power and possibility and potential that apology holds. It is I
100%. An apology
actually,
can have many ways.
but
Many ways.
yes, and it is an opportunity to deepen and strengthen a relationship and the expansiveness,
Oh,
the capacity to trust,
absolutely. Absolutely.
or it can be the other.
Very
Like
much
it
so.
can be
Very.
so this is
You're
so
right. You're
interesting.
right. Either this way or that way. And if it go that way, you know that we talked about fracture and repair, which is
Mhm.
always happening. And what we know from research, we usually have 33% of things that are getting in like that. The rest is fracture and repair. We're constantly, in that zone. But when you think about if there is a fracture, it happens. It will happen all the time. We obviously want to avoid it, especially those of ones that had early trauma. It's like, never hurt me, don't hurt me. If you hurt me because we're so hurt, we don't want to experience that. But we never had a repair when we were young, so we just don't want to avoid that. But the truth about fracture and repair is that if there is fracture and you trust the other person, that both of you, team, doesn't matter what, that you're safe, that you're going to come back, even though right now it's not comfortable. And if you actually repair it, it is so much stronger than it before.
Well, it's stronger, and and there's not a you know there's not a case being built against each other,
Exactly.
like, why we should
Exactly.
distrust each other. Because once that's there, it's almost like, yeah, once there's one fracture and it's not resolved, it can be a place of like a bucket that just keeps getting
Well,
filled.
yeah, and it just creates more separation and less
Yeah,
trust and all of that going that way.
yeah. So this is interesting because this is, you know, we talk about relationship being the bottom line in both of our worlds, coaching and in therapy. And from a coaching perspective, where I am receiving people as whole, and I don't, you know, although I have the skills, I'm just being really, if I'm being pure coach mode, I do not move into that space of early trauma, and I don't see my clients as trauma, you know, informed, even though I know that that's part of their experience. I've said before, this idea of healing forward. I meet them where they are, see them, witness them, be with them in this space, create trust and safety so they can begin to heal forward. So have courage and be courageous in the way that they are moving in their life and the choices they're making, and their relation, you know, how they're moving in their relationships and stuff. So I'm thinking about leaders who aren't trauma informed therapists, who aren't necessarily coaches, but have leadership skills and obviously people skills. I mean, not obviously, most leaders have some kind of people skills, you
Right.
know, some don't, and they're in leadership roles for that abuse of power that we did talk about. So there is that reality. However, we're talking about the folks that are there, um, you know, for because they're or natural leaders. It's part of their soul design.
No.
So this is a tool, a relationship building exercise where it almost creates safety for the leader, because if you've got people coming and going from your team, you've got a collection of people who are bringing all of who they are with them. How
Absolutely.
do you manage that when you are going to activate people because you have this performance requirement that, top down, you've got pressure from top down, and you're needing people to deliver on that so you can meet your target. There's all that complexity that already stresses the relationship aspect. If and if I am a leader and I don't know how to apologize, that can be detrimental to my capacity, even though I'm the best leader in the world and I've got all the skills and I could
You're
and
actually not the
performance.
best. You actually at
Well,
that
I
point
should
not the
know.
best leader in the world.
Right. Well, I've got the behaviors, like I can get
Yeah.
results, but how? Like, how am I getting them? By forcing, by like, then I'm in that. However, with this apology concept, not that I have to go around and apologize, but when and if it emerges, and I have an understanding of what a a helpful, useful apology is and how to make that, which is, I mean, we're getting there. I don't think we've got a full,
So good.
step by step yet, because there's so much to say on each step.
Yes.
But then I have the capacity to, like, I'm safer in my role as a leader if I know how to apologize and it can have this either negative impact or positive impact. I have a tool to use and I'm safer in my role when and if I activate someone. I can actually be more open to feedback. If people can give me feedback and have a voice, they feel like you did with Bonnie. They feel,
Imagine what it does to the workplace for people.
imagine, and you've got less people problems and more.
And more actually collaboration. The fact that you
Yeah,
are a leader, that you are the parent, doesn't mean that your kids at any age, including that,
yeah,
know less than you are. They know their
yeah.
world. Imagine how much you get for the company where all are respected. And yes, there is hierarchy, but the hierarchy is not because I am the leader, so I know better than you are. But if you allow the safety for them to be, and for you also to be human, rather
Mhm.
than what is a leader? A leader is somebody, for me, is somebody that gives power to others rather than control others.
Yes,
So imagine that you are actually listening, being human to them, how much more resources that you have. It starts with the relationship, then the performance is escalating, ascending,
mm,
where you actually not kind of like try to see how not to piss off the person because they're not going to be safe, and basically operate from that narrow path rather than we're safe. I can tell him how I can, the leader can apologize. He's a person too. He's just the one that actually holds everything together for us and there for us. The rest happening naturally, where resources, we open that kind of narrow creek into an ocean of possibilities with humans. And that starts with the leaders. Then again, you talk about, if, and you said it's a tool for Sufilter to say, like, I'm human. My
mm.
humanness is the power, not because I have the
Well, and
power.
I don't have to give that up
No,
because I've offended someone. I don't have to worry about, and I don't have to walk on eggshells. And
no.
how someone receives, going back to last podcast, how they receive what I have to say is their choice. And my responsibility is to create the safest and the most, cultivate the most and nurture the most useful, or the helpful environment for them to receive and make the best choice possible in how they.
Very true. And if you are as a leader, you said that their choice how to receive that, they will receive it much more openly if
Yes.
you're coming from a place of, I care about you. I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings, first of all.
Yeah.
Then they can have the choice to really be open and say more rather than, yeah, tell me what you think. And just before you even started, you just want to go in, and then their choice is they're scared.
Well,
you know,
that's an important concept because we are talking about leadership, but this is transferable to all relationships, parenting, and
all
especially
relationships.
if there's a power dynamic or a differential somewhere in that.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and I think that what you're talking about, it's easy for us to talk and say here in the safety of our relationship and in this space, this podcast space. But in real day-to-day life, if I have this performance activation, if I have a vision of a leader being someone who has it all together, who is getting results, who is super accountable, who's doing the right thing, like it's all performance based, then it's going to be difficult for me to step out of that and
Much
have
so.
this people conversation.
Very much so. And that's
So,
the culture that we have right now, unfortunately. That's the perception of the leader, that they
but
need to
it's
be
an
super.
opportunity. It's an opportunity that always exists. It's
It's an
always
opportunity
there.
that always exists.
Okay. Okay. So,
Yes. Yes.
okay. So I'm really committed to getting a step by step how to make a useful, helpful apology that will
Yes.
build relationship and trust
Yes.
and be
So
an
the first thing would be to first of all see how you are. Are you hurt? Are you okay? Are you together? That you
okay.
can actually hear the other person.
So pause and check in.
Pause
Okay.
and check in. Pause and
And
check in.
then second is to seek to understand, but to communicate, like to actively listen to someone. So to communicate that you've heard them. Right?
Yes.
I hear you, acknowledge, I hear that I've frustrated you or something I've done is frustrating to you, or I hear that what I was doing, angered you. Or what,
So the second part would be important, unless somebody tells you, you hurt my feelings or something like that, then they tell you how they felt. But if they stuck in the behavior and say, what you did was this and this and this and this and this, my second reaction would be, after, if I get myself together and I can actually listen and separate between the behavior and the person. Because if
yeah,
somebody comes to you with that, they got hurt somewhere, somehow.
yeah, okay.
So
Yeah.
I would say that the next stage would be to kind of like help them to separate between, because we don't want people to be stuck on their behavior. If we stuck
Right.
on the behavior will repeat. So I would say, so how did that affect, how do you feel about that? About what I just said. Let's say then when somebody tells you you did this and you did that, and they want you to apologize, it's like, first of all, to understand how did it affect you. So then we shift them from the left side of the brain to the right side, to the human part of them.
Okay, so I hear that what I did has affected you.
Yeah, how? Like, what did
How?
I did
How
it
has
hurt
that?
your did it hurt? So yeah, do you want to
Yeah.
see, did it hurt your feelings?
Okay.
Because then you really shifted it from the topic of, that,
Well,
the
from blame to ownership too, though, instead of blaming and pointing fingers, it's now,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. When Bonnie said aham, that was just one thing, if that resolved, something else will come. But what really was underneath that I felt that she didn't listen to me, that you were just doing that. So that hurt my feelings. So we went from the behavior, the symptoms itself, to the
Mm,
real problem underneath.
mm.
Once we get to there, we're on it, because they were addressing the right thing. So if I did something, it's, let's say, like, what you did was just awful over there. And I said, like, can you tell me more? Because I might not know what it is. So now I can get geared to understand what it is. And so you were walking on that, and you were just walking wobbly. And so, okay, so that might be something that that, you know, how did it affect? So how is it for you that I did that? Well, that really is just horrible. People should go on the street like in a straight line, not in that. What happened to you when you did it? I mean, what was your experience when you didn't work straight on whether? Now, you don't have to investigate them that, but just to understand why that particular thing hurt them. And then you might understand that it's really not about you, it's something that triggered them. And then, if possible, that's the crucial part, to say, you know what? They're coming and hit me right now, but I'm not the one that actually hurt them before that. So you might have empathy to them, because like my body said, it was not about even what that, it was the hurt that I had with my mom that came through the thing with body. So now she understands what it is. She feels more protected. She feels it's not about her. She understands. And then she can address it and say, I can see why it hurts you.
Okay. So what I'm hearing then, if I simplify this step by step that I'm really attached to today, is So there's the pause and check in, then there's the acknowledge, something I see that something I did has
Yeah,
really
that hurt your
affected you
feelings. Yes.
affected you or hurt you. Like, again, I'm moving away from hurting feelings only because there's an assumption in there that people are aware of their feelings. And
Yeah.
that isn't necessarily the case. And you don't have to have a huge high level of self-awareness or be a
No.
therapist or a coach or be in therapy or
Right.
have a coach to be able to do this. You can do this by just acknowledging like something I
Yes.
did has affected you.
Yes.
And three is seek to understand what that is. So
Yes.
what was the impact? Like, tell me
Yes.
more about that.
Yes, yes. And also once you really understand that you understand that, let's say that you don't even understand the roots, but you understand that that hurts their feelings.
Mm.
And at that point you kind of feel safe more because you know that it's not
You
about you.
can
If it,
yes, there's more
then
information.
then it's easy to even say, I'm really sorry that I hurt your feelings. So I do that a lot, even though I know that nothing of my I might have not done anything. It's something they project on me that I did. I am okay at that point. They can put it on me because I know it doesn't belong to me. That's important part that I feel safe
Mhm.
to be in that point. If I feel safe and I know, like, sometimes kids, just the parents, something happened to them and then come and hit the parents. Regardless what happened, the parents, they're just, they
Oh, they
trust
have
it
a bad day at school and they come home. Well, I mean,
and
it
get,
happens. You have a bad day at work. You come
absolutely.
home and the people closest to you are going to get it.
100%. Exactly. All the time it happens.
Yeah.
But why they do that? Because they feel safe that it can go to you and you'll be there for them, rather they cannot do that to their friends, they can do that to their mom.
Yeah.
but still, moms hopefully knows, a good enough mom would know that she didn't do anything and the kid is frustrated, and it's safe for them to come and hit mom rather than go hit the bully or whatever it is. I don't
Yeah.
know, hit or just let it out. If mom is not regulated, she will say like, what it has to do with me? Why do you have to do it? When you go out, you're so nice, and when you come back home, you become the devil. That will just shame the boy rather than actually help him to come and get that. So it's important that mom, the leader, whoever that might be in the real power relationship that people go to, would understand that people are coming and projecting constantly things on them that might be not related to them, or sometimes it does relate to them, but not as human. They might be something that they're doing unconsciously. They're hurting their employees. If they're safe enough to listen, we did probably 90% of the job of repair just by acknowledging. And then when you asked about the to do things, the next phase is to say, and that's what I say right away, whether I understand the depth of it or not, if I see them really hurt and I'm okay, I would completely not go to the why they got hurt. I would go
Mhm.
to immediately, I'm really sorry that I hurt your feelings right
Yeah.
away. And it's very authentic because I'm at that point, what I care about is not what I did. It's just that I hurt somebody in that way or another.
Well,
Now,
and it takes away that justification. It's not, I'm really sorry I hurt your feelings, or I'm really sorry that what I did affected you. I did it because blah, 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 because that immediately creates disconnection. It's just simply,
it's
I am sorry that
exactly,
what
exactly.
I,
Thank
and
you,
not,
Lorraine. Yeah,
not let the language is important, not, I'm sorry if I did anything. The fact is that something was done and it wasn't necessarily intentional and usually isn't, and nor is it about you.
man,
So that
exactly.
language of the apology is really important. I'm seeing, I am sorry that what I did has affected you or hurt you, or again, I'm just offering different language in case there's different tolerance
Exactly.
for certain
Exactly.
types of language.
Exactly.
That's really important, and to not, the desire to make yourself feel better and justify your behavior might be there, but keep it short. So
And not
acknowledge.
necessary at all because it's not about that. That's the thing. It's
Yeah.
like you're absolutely right. It's just there is nothing else other than I'm sorry if in that way or another I hurt your feelings. I'm just addressing you as a person because that's what really actually matters.
Well, and I'm seeing too that step 4 here. So you seek to understand, and I'm asking from that place of wanting to learn about the person and what, so that in the future I can be more, um, so closing the loop on that conversation and saying, okay, like Bonnie did, to the best of my ability, I can hear that, when I cough and you're speaking, that's difficult for you because you don't think I'm listening to you. Okay. So acknowledging again that you've heard the person, that listening piece,
Yes.
and um and let them know that you'll try, do your best. I'll do my best to
Exactly,
not do that in the
exactly. That you
future.
actually really hurt them, and
And if I
yeah.
do, let me know.
Exactly. But I can't promise I won't do that. I'm going to try very mindfully not to do that because now I know what triggered you. I don't want to trigger you. I want to be mindful of that. And at the same time, keep yourself intact and say, because otherwise you're going to get scared. Like if it's her
Yes.
nature to be, that's who she is. Then now I'm attacking who she is. Now at that point, she did something wonderful to keep it that way, that she kept herself intact and said, this is also who I am.
But there's a potential for, because you brought in the word empathy. So we go from being activated to what we're hardwired for as human beings, and that is connection. And one of the ways we connect, because we're humans and we share an experience of being human, we have empathy for one another. So step 4 is really about engaging in that empathetic response by also sharing something of oneself. So, if the cough, it's like, well, I hear that this is something that affects you in this way. Something you don't know about me is that I actually have a condition that requires me to cough or I can't, breathe properly. Oh,
Exactly.
right. All of a sudden it's not personal, right? And so
Exactly.
there's a
Exactly.
reason for it, and the brain can understand that reason. And again, it could go away and not bother me as much. But I can also say, I will do my best when we're having conversation,
Because you're
not,
respectful of
or
what,
I'll step out of the
yes,
room, or something like that.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So you're taking very seriously what triggers the other
Evoke
one,
empathy.
rather than saying like, oh, I'm sorry that I understand why that, but you keep doing that and you're ignoring the message somebody sent you. She heard me. She saw that I'm triggered by that. I can see my mom at that point of time. So she wants to, first of all, she apologized that it hurt her feelings. She had no intentions to do that. And she said it in a very sincere way. And second, she said, I can see how that hurt you because she made the connection we made the connection of the origin.
Mhm.
And also the fact that she said, I'll try not to do that. I'll try mindful to do that.
Absolutely.
And she was mindful. And so many times she did go back to that. You know what? By the time after that repair that we did, it lost its power.
Yeah, which is amazing
Isn't
because
it?
then we're all just even more at ease with one
And
another.
she
And
could be
then,
herself. And I was not triggered by that
yeah.
anymore. But
And you can get back to the work of, what's next to heal, like in a therapeutic relationship,
another
or
thing that
what
comes
is
up. Yeah.
what is the next task that
Where
I
is
need
the next thing
to
that is
aim
emerging
for.
that we need to attend?
So,
And so all of a sudden, when you think about that, the repair was, and this is the people that are we work with,
mhm,
hopefully have a very different response from us than to the same response that hurt them before. That they take to the place, to the workplace, inviting the same response that if when I had something very new coming from a person that nobody ever told me, everybody always like threw it back at me, something is wrong with you. So all of a
yeah.
sudden to have that kind of not only repair, the possibility that somebody actually respecting me, my goodness, when we talk about trust, this is where the trust is deepening.
Well,
This is
what
where the
if
trust
what
is.
if it's the leader that is disrespecting the employee?
Well, it's exactly like being in a family with the father and
Yeah.
mother had all the power in the world and the employees has no power and
Yeah, it's
getting shamed
interesting.
and getting
So I'm
shamed.
looking I'm looking at the time and I realized that making that comment, I'm just maybe opening up another can of worms. But I like to drop in um resources for folks to access. And and I don't know, so if any resources you can think of, like a book, or for people if this is a topic that interests them, what comes to mind is the book Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, Roiz.
Yes.
Before, don't take anything personally, be impeccable with your word. Like it's a quick read, it's an easy read. They're really simple, human, broken down, really. But it's a useful place to go around this, if this idea of apologizing resonates with folks, and just the power of it um to deepen and strengthen relationships in whatever environment, whether it's at home or, I mean, it's
100%.
transferable.
100%. a hundred
Yeah. Do
percent.
you have any resources
I,
that you
I,
can
I
think
need to
of?
I need to reflect on that and see what would be appropriate for that kind, because then again it's going very much to how your makeup is inside. Then again, you can read about all these things and even listen to us.
Mhm.
I'm thinking more of getting people to, first of all, because the moment you are having yourself and you feel okay, you will be able to do that repair or that apologies from the place that we were just talking to. So for me, it's really kind of like sit with yourself and see what usually triggers you, and acknowledge when you are triggered and you become defensive, or in another word, protective. And
Yeah.
that's not bad when you're protecting yourself, but the moment you need to protect yourself, you cannot repair it
You
with
can't be
others.
available for, and your
So
apology is
for me,
not going to
right. So for me, that will be more start with that and all the things that are the to do, the to be my that are helping to get to that place where you, first of all, check with yourself and see how can you, if you are available and what triggered you, what gets you to be defensive or pushing back.
okay.
Then you want to stop and see, I have something that triggered me inside. What
Okay.
is that?
So you're saying that the resource, it's not a book, it's not a pamphlet, it's not another podcast, it's not something to do. It's actually, you're inviting people to raise their self-awareness around and start to pay attention to
Are to pay
what
attention to
are
how you respond.
what
Exactly.
are
That
the
will be a
things that
very,
activate.
yes, that will be a
Okay.
very good start, because if you are becoming defensive, all the things that are to do are going to come from a place of
Right.
really not going to allow repair. The moment
Right.
you are available, the repair, you will listen. You wouldn't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah. Excellent,
So
because you're engaged in that empathy. You're coming from
then
your
then you can be
heart.
empathic. If you get hurt yourself, triggered yourself, there is no way you can be empathy to anyone else. Even if you fake it, it will look like fake. It will
Yeah.
not repair. So
Yeah.
first
You
of
get
all, really
hurt
it
if you're
starts then
angry.
again with us. Yeah, it starts with us. When you are anyone that hears this podcast right now, a leader, a mom and dad, a friend, a husband, a wife, a kid, if we're getting triggered something hurt our feelings, just first of all be with yourself and see and acknowledge that and see what hurt me and where that goes from, where it comes from. What about this thing that pushed my reaction so badly?
Mm.
And I just kind of sit with that and even talk about that,
Mm.
just that, to somebody that you trust. Like, I don't know why, but I reacted very strongly about that.
Mm.
You know,
Interesting that those kinds of conversations come up all the time in coaching. People bring those
well, it
things.
comes in human
Yeah.
interactions. That's the thing. It comes in everywhere.
I have a question because we talked about your book that's coming out sometime soon. Again, no date on that and no pressure. Is this something that's addressed in your book? Not necessarily the apology, but the process of being with oneself and gaining awareness around that, or is it a different topic?
No, I think it's really actually interconnected, because the book is basically talking about my relationship with Bonnie. I thought that
Oh,
the book was not. It's about my life basically, but my life had nothing to do with what I want people to know. That's not important to me from a human perspective. I took the relationship that I have with Bonnie from
yeah.
starting therapy all the way to 20 years, 25 years later. And
Wow.
the reason that we wrote about what is actually the process of healing. And that's true to anyone, any capacity of work. So it's so related, because the way I was capable of listening before, when I started, it was just a one big performance machine that looks like put together and could just try to survive at any second. Versus to the latest, that I could be just human, I could be vulnerable, I don't have to know everything, I can be, I'm a human. And when I had myself, after all these years of repair, basically, then all the capability that we're talking about just came naturally. So today, because of the process of healing with another human being, and healing can be with another mind, another heart that is had more health into them, and then by definition, I'm more capable of being much there for my clients, for my kid, for anybody, to you, to anyone, to see in a different way, rather than if it was like 20 years ago, I would sit here and try constantly to see how am I looking okay? How is my eye? How is my hair? Am I smiling enough? All these things.
I gotta put some more lipstick on.
There you go. Exactly. Exactly. But it would come across between us, and the whole thing, we will talk about the right things. There would not be much connection and being human. And that's what's so wonderful about our experiences. We have experiences enough vertically, both you and I, to come here and be human and have talks about that, rather than we're the expert of everything.
I
And
really
now
appreciate
we hear each other more. So we're both there rather than try to survive. And because if it's just survive, there is no, and then all the apologies would come from a place that they don't hear, you don't really want to say. It's like all just survival. So it's really kind of starting with be human with whatever you are. And if you can't because you got hurt and you're reactive, just be kind to yourself and start getting what you need in order to be heard and in order to feel safe, because it immediately permeates to anyone that you have a relationship with. Then the apologize are from a very different place. And, you're not apologizing because you're scared. You're not apologizing for the leader because if you said the wrong thing, they're going to fire you. On the contrary, imagine you can be in the workplace and the leader is human and you can come and laugh with them and can say even that you just,
Well, you can make mistakes with them. I mean, you can make mistakes, and you can.
imagine how much you want to come back to work and wants to be there. And the performance immediately
Well,
was
and
open up.
not even that, in that space of safety, there's also creativity and collaboration, again, across the board, not just in teams and
Across
leaders
the
and
board.
organizations, but in families and all and communities. You've got people who are collaborating and
Everything,
sharing
Lerae,
ideas.
everything. It's like the part of you that was actually present. Now all of you is present. Imagine what brain wise is opening up. It's like so many times we're using just that part of the brain just to survive, where we have so much to give and receive and create, where we don't really have the access to that because it's just not safe.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for the opportunity I have to apologize to someone.
Apologize. I had I had a
Hey,
kid.
someone, come on.
Lerae, I had a young kid. It just reminds me. I don't know if I ever told you that. I know we need to wrap it up, but just one comment to that because it reminds me. I had an Asian lady in my clinic, coming for therapy. A very sweet lady, and she was a single mom, so she brought her young little kiddo. He was like 4 or 5. She used to come here, so I would give him something to play with while we were talking. But one day he kind of like, kids get some words and sometimes they just cannot stop saying them. So he said, Owen, apologize. Apologize. He said, he didn't say apologize, he said, apologize. Apologize to you and your family constantly. And he was so adorable. My goodness. He just constantly said, just the moment he saw me, he said, apologize. And he said, why are you apologizing? It's like, apologize. Sorry, apologize. Oh, the cutest thing in the world. Anyway, it was just so sweet. It just didn't. It just kind of like seeing somebody like cute. It was very proud of saying the word apology, but he said apologize. So
That's great.
every time I say, just apologize to you and your family.
Okay, now I know where that comes from. um, and the last thing that I have to share on apologies is that you can't fake it.
You can't fake it.
You
And if you
cannot fake it. It's
no,
not going to
we
land.
can't fake anything, even if
Yeah.
we don't, if we want. The thing is that the other person knows that.
Yeah. Yeah. So getting to that point, which goes back to our realization as we started to I was pretty committed to step by step. How does somebody apologize? It starts with that self-regulation and that pause and that coming down and working through your own, like letting go of whatever's going on with you so that you
Yes.
can come back to that open-hearted conversation.
Yes.
So this is brilliant, so brilliant. And I'm glad that we got to talk about your book. And I really appreciate that
Thank you.
you brought Bonnie and that your relationship is such that you can bring Bonnie into these conversations.
And Bonnie would come, just to mention it, that Bonnie would come to our podcast. Bonnie wrote many books and we
Oh
will
my gosh, that's going to be so
and she will come
fantastic.
to
Will
our
she be our
podcast.
first guest?
She will be our first guest, and I'm very excited about it because actually we can maybe talk to her about what we just talked.
Okay.
That will be, I think, fantastic because then we can both talk about from our both sides about that part
Mm.
that is actually what we talked about. And Bonnie can also expand neurobiologically. I mean, I can do that myself too, but she's better than me in that area.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and,
So
and, and, and
apologies are not a uh are not something that are a negative thing. Now, after this
no,
hour, apologies are a relationship growth opportunity.
is a strength. It's
It's a
okay.
strength.
It's a
Yeah.
strength. It's to be human and to be
Wonderful.
humble and to make mistakes. We don't need to be perfect. We're human. We are in Camp Earth. Camp
Yeah.
Earth is not easy. So
Human school.
in human school, we're not easy. Just let's be a little bit easier on each other and yourself and ourselves, mostly on ourselves, and then we can be easy to others, on others.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Well,
Hallelujah.
hallelujah. And so yeah, so Bonnie, so we'll have Bonnie here
We
and
will
I
have
love the
Bonnie
idea.
soon. We will yeah, I'm going to
Okay.
coordinate with her the time and we will get her soon and then we'll be able to have a wonderful talks about all of this
All right,
and
Oren,
more
this
and
is
more.
thank you for listening to my ideas and picking this one to roll with. That was quite
And
an hour.
and thank you for being who you are, as always.
All right.